Okay, Mom, for my dorm, I'm thinking coquette meets poet core.
That sounds like a vibe. What do you need? And where do we get it?
Target. I already have everything on my mood board. A comforter, pillows, and a super cute floral lamp.
So you probably need a rug to tie it all together.
OMG, they have the perfect CMPC rug.
CMPC?
Coquette meets poet core.
Oh, okay. In that case, let's RTT.
Yeah, let's run to Target. You're getting it. Find your dorm inspiration and everything you need at Target.
Good morning, it's Monday, July 27, and this is the Brussels Playbook podcast. The vibe in Brussels today is expectant as Icelanders begin early voting on whether to reopen a path that could eventually lead them into the EU. Also on the pod, Donald Trump is threatening new tariffs after Brussels fined Google, and that's putting the EU-US trade deal back under pressure. And Beethoven or birds? Europeans can have a say on the next generation of euro banknotes. I'm Zoya Sheftalovich, and with me today is Politico senior finance reporter Kathryn Carlson. Hey, Katie.
Hey, Zoya. How's it hanging?
Low and loose.
That's the end of July feeling, I think.
It really is. Katie, let's get straight to it. Icelanders are going to begin voting today on whether they should restart negotiations to join the EU. Now, this was the process that was abandoned over a decade ago by Iceland. But now, there's been a bunch of geopolitical stuff that's been happening. There has been the war in Ukraine. There's been Donald Trump's expansionist view of European territory. And Iceland has decided, hey, maybe we should reconsider.
Yeah, but there's always a question of when is a vote not a vote, right? So this isn't a vote about rejoining the EU. This is a vote about, do we want to restart the talks for potentially rejoining the EU down the line? And support is different for each of those two things. Support's a bit higher among the Icelandic people for restarting the talks, but they're a bit more hesitant about whether or not we actually want to join down the line. And they're two separate processes. So the Icelandic idea is we do this whole negotiation, we see what the deal looks like, and then at the end of the day, we have another vote to decide whether we actually want to join.
Yeah. And basically, it's sort of like a, let's try before we buy sort of situation. Got a story out today. Our colleague Seb Starchevich has looked into this and has spoken with people who are kind of leading both the yes and the no camp in Iceland. And it's going to be a series of stuff that he sends out.
And why are we talking about this today?
It's because early polling has started today, Monday. The actual polling day, the official polling day is August 29, but there is basically a month of people being able to cast a ballot. So this is kind of the pointy end of this debate.
Yeah, and it's getting a bit political, right? We've got some of the key Brussels figures sticking their oar into the process, debatably, and being told to keep out of it a bit by Reykjavik.
Yeah, that's right. So Renew Europe leader Valerie Heyer, she visited Iceland back in June.
Valerie Heyer.
Valerie Heyer visited... Katie, don't you laugh at my pronunciation of French.
I'm not laughing at this.
Oh, listener, if only you could see the face of Dionys, our producer, who is...
And I don't even speak French.
There's a lot of hard names in this one, to be fair.
Oh, it is a hard name day. Folks, my apologies to all and sundry who are offended by my terrible pronunciation. I do my best, but I am just an Eastern European gal trying to pronounce French words with mystery letters that you don't say. Look, Valerie Heyer visited Iceland in June, and she said at the time that the EU should be moving heaven and earth to bring the country into the bloc. And her argument is basically, well, firstly, that Iceland is already basically, insofar as you can be when you're not actually a member of the EU, very, very close to EU membership because they're part of the European Economic Area, they're part of the Schengen zone, very close on their legislation. And the other kind of thing that maybe she's not saying out loud is Iceland is a very wealthy country. And the EU would love it if, along with some of the less wealthy countries that are joining or want to join the bloc in the next decade or so, there might be a few with deeper pockets. And Iceland is one of those deeper pocket countries. So that is kind of the pitch. They're really trying to pull out all the stops on the EU level to try to convince Iceland to get on board. But the Independence Party, which is Iceland's largest opposition party and which is opposed to EU membership, it's basically telling Brussels, hey, stick your nose out.
Yeah. So also, I mean, it's a question of what type of association do you want to have, right? Like, if so much of this is being motivated now by geopolitics, the whole Greenland thing, Iceland's already a member of NATO. So, like, the debate is, does it actually need the full hog and to go EU? So anyway, but back to our colleague Seb Starchevich has a story today, an interview with the opposition party leader Guðrún Hafsteinsdóttir, who said that the decision has to be left to Icelanders. They want to keep foreign influence out. She's talking about the fact that Iceland's already in NATO. It already has access to the EU single market. So she wants Iceland to stay a key consistent partner with the EU, but not to become a member. And the governing coalition in Iceland is also split. So there's two parties that support membership and one that's against.
It is a very interesting and a hot debate in Iceland. And I think precisely because Iceland is quite wealthy, it doesn't see the same level of economic benefit that's likely to come as a result of EU membership. The flip side of it is when I've spoken with people in Iceland, in Reykjavik, who are on either side of this debate, there is definitely an acknowledgement that in this age of Donald Trump kind of undermining NATO at every step of the way, there is something to be gained potentially from EU membership from the perspective of security and safety in numbers, because it's not quite so given as it maybe was before, the extent to which you might be protected. And you've got to remember, it's not like Iceland has an army or, a big old defense industry. Like, they are kind of at the mercy of their allies should something go wrong.
Yeah, I mean, they are in NATO, and they have traditionally said that they don't feel like a lot of Trump's threats against Greenland apply to them also. But remember, we've also seen Trump literally mixing up Greenland and Iceland in speeches. So
an easy mistake to make. Icy, green, it's the same old thing.
Yeah, it feels like a different moment from these Icelanders who are just saying, well, what does the EU bring me? You're just going to take my money and take my fish.
Oh, yes. Fishy business is big business in Iceland. And this was the thing that kind of tanked the negotiations last time, because basically the EU is notoriously quite tough when it comes to the fishing industry. There are various rules around the catch, and you've got to look. I am no agriculture and fisheries reporter, but it is complex and it is political. And
Iceland has a lot of fish.
They want to have their fish and eat it too, is what they want. But listen, the fish is a big deal. And last time, actually, the interesting thing is that one of the reasons why Iceland abandoned these talks, why it ended up just giving up on this thing, is because the UK was in the EU and was driving a really hard bargain on the fish. UK is gone. Iceland might actually get a better fish deal. So it could be that this time round, the deal does look more attractive, more delicious.
Preferential treatment. Is that bad? Is that too bad?
No, that's too good. That is too bloody good. But in any case, it's all kicking off now. Voting opens today. We're going to get the final and big day of voting on the 29th of August. Katie, last week we were talking about the EU's big fine for Google for breaching the Digital Markets Act, and we said that it might provoke Donald Trump. Well, it looks like it may have done just that.
In a surprise to everybody.
Yeah, who would have seen a truth post coming from
a late night truth social post? They're so unpredictable. They're so unfamiliar from Trump these days.
Yes, exactly. So Google got fined €890 million on Thursday for breaching the DMA. This was two breaches that the EU found it had done. It was for favouring its own services in search over its competitors, and also restricting app developers from allowing users to get cheaper offers outside of the Google Play Store. After this big fine came through, at first there was a big sigh of relief. I was reporting on this. I was talking to people in town. Everyone was very cautiously like, oh, maybe Trump is going to hold fire on this one. No, it just took a little while, but a day after that, Trump accused the EU of robbing American companies and said that he was going to open US trade investigations and threatening the EU with a substantial tariff. So now we're waiting to see whether something on that happens this week.
And yeah, it's important to note that we had a brief peaceful period on Friday where Brussels kind of thought it had got away with it. Washington said that it was going to do a 10% tariff on most EU imports, which, it's tough, but it's also below a ceiling of 15% that they agreed under that famous Turnberry trade deal last year. The Commission was cautiously optimistic about it. And then the infamous Truth Social post came, inevitably.
Yeah. And actually, by the way, Katie, did you know that the Turnberry deal turns 1 today?
I do, because I wasn't on the golf course myself, but I was writing a newsletter about it.
Classic Politico shenanigans. Well, in any case, Brussels is obviously saying, look, this fine, or these fines rather, they are not about targeting American companies. They're actually just about us enforcing our rules.
And they've done them against Chinese companies too, to be fair.
Indeed, and there has been a flurry of announcements coming out of the Berlaymont over the past kind of few weeks, and they've been hitting TikTok, they've been hitting all sorts of companies as well, as you say, but obviously that is not what has made the headlines on Trump's Truth Social feed.
Yeah, so now what the US is saying is that they're going to have a Section 301 investigation. So it's a process for investigating unfair trade practices. It can lead to tariffs or some other kind of retaliation. It's a kind of long process. They'll gather some evidence first, and then they'll come up with they'll have hearings as well. So the question for this week is about whether they formally launched that investigation or whether it was an empty threat from Trump.
Yeah, but, this is going to be, even if they just launch it, even if we don't know what is going to come, I think ultimately it will be seen as an escalation in Brussels, because any sort of extra blanket tariff would potentially undermine the Turnberry deal, which set that ceiling for 15% tariffs. And so that was quite lopsided. But Brussels did say at the time, and repeatedly has said since then, we have trade tools at our disposal that we can utilize if need be, if you push us further. So this might escalate things further again. That being said, everyone in Brussels is on holiday, so...
So they're not here for the emergency Sunday meetings of diplomats to figure out our response to this great catastrophe.
Katie, let's talk cash money, baby.
We finally get to talk about a story I actually wrote. I'm so excited.
I'm very excited too. This was the talk of the newsroom in Brussels. We were all frantically looking. Oh, we should rewind a little. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself because of how exciting it is. But the European Central Bank has unveiled the shortlisted designs for the big revamp of euro notes, the first one since they actually started printing them in 2002.
Exactly. And people can give their feedback on the designs. They won't get to decide because in classic technocratic fashion, the European Central Bank will make the final decision. But you get to decide, do you prefer Beethoven or birds?
Well, it was such a hot debate. There are two camps and they are very firmly entrenched.
I have heard everything to do with this since I wrote the story on Friday. What's your take?
Okay, my take is I love the birds. I'm a bird gal. Katie, flying high.
Okay, I personally also love the birds, but I do think that the historical figures are going to clinch it. So we should give some context here. The two design choices, and there's different variations of these, but basically the two camps are there's famous historical Europeans.
Might you say the two flocks?
The two flocks. I don't have a bird pun to come back with. Tragic. I've literally got it.
You should have a squawk about it.
Having written the story on Friday already, I should have been an early bird to this process. I
You
should have sorted myself out.
Okay, two flocks.
Two flocks.
Flock number one.
Famous Europeans.
Yeah.
Maria Callas, the Greek-American opera singer. Beethoven.
Ludwig van of the Ode to Joy, who wrote the banger.
EU anthem.
Absolute
Yeah.
banger. Yep.
Floor filler if there ever was one.
Yeah, I was rocking out to it on the way here this morning.
Marie Curie.
Wait. Are you leaving?
You're the Eastern European, you say.
Dionys should say it as his countrywoman.
Skłodowska.
Skłodowska. Marie Skłodowska-Curie. See, I can do that. I just can't do Aya.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Famous polymath. Can't put him in a box. Miguel de Cervantes, the famous author.
Yes, with Don Quixote and his windmills.
And the Austrian pacifist, Bertha von Suttner.
Aha. Listen, I wouldn't have chosen those five.
Well, there have been tons of memes with people proposing their rival suggestions. I saw some good ones. Macron in the sunglasses from Davos was one.
Excellent.
Karl Marx. Just imagine the contrast. Karl Marx, European Central Bank, literally on the money.
That would be quite ironic and fun. Okay, I can see the fun in that, but also I don't want Marx on my money.
There was also suggested the plastic water bottle with the cap attached.
Yes.
Some turtles with plastic straws in the ocean.
Yes, that makes sense. Yes. Wait, speaking of turtles and straws and the ocean, that's the second camp.
So the rival design, yes, is rivers and birds.
My pick.
The rivers, I believe, are generic. The birds are specific. So there are breeds like the kingfisher, the wall creeper, bee-eaters, a white stork, an avocet, and a northern gannet.
See, I can get behind the birds. I fly high with the birds.
A northern gannet, that's me on my day off.
Listen, I've said that I like the birds to people, and they do not like that. They're like, if we can't have people, historical figures, then get out of here.
So the idea is it's like people that can unite Europe across borders. Like they're prominent enough that they had a big profile outside of Europe and that they're world famous and that they symbolize Europe rather than just the countries they specifically come from.
Counterpoint, white storks, kingfishers.
I do agree that the people are more recognizable. I personally like the birds, but I do get that the birds maybe look a bit more similar. You might not be able to identify them as much as like, oh, I want that note that's got the Greek lady on, or the man with the big collar.
But actually, we should talk about the reverse, because I quite like the reverse, which includes the EU buildings. Like there's a European Parliament, a European Commission. I quite like that because then I can like point to it and be like, this is where I go all day, mum. That would be nice.
It's nice that they can be specific about it, because if you remember, for these versions of the banknotes, they had to do like generic imaginary bridges and public spaces because they couldn't be said to prefer any specific bridge in any one country.
Yeah, that was pretty gross. That was like AI banknotes before AI banknotes were a thing. No, I'm loving it. Look, I would love to hear from our audience. Are you a bird person or are you a human person? Or would you pick something else entirely? Maybe you've got some particular person who's been left off and you reckon needs to be on that list. Mine was ABBA.
I think Joan of Arc would be a good one. But do we know what she looked like? Does she have a recognizable face?
No.
She was also against the English.
I also think she's already a saint. She doesn't need a banknote.
Fair.
Yeah. Okay, folks, that's it from us today. Leave us a message. Send us a voice note on WhatsApp. The link is in the show notes. And please do rate us and review us. You know, the summer is coming. You could just go back over the entire catalogue of Brussels Playbook podcast and just listen back over it. Leave some comments.
Replay the hits.
Oh, yeah, the greatest hits. I think they should put a fat cat on the notes.
Fat cat.
Yeah.
A literal embodiment of what we stand for in a monetary system.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.